Hello, I hope you're all doing well. This is Bunto. Decided to try my hand at a video that explains an approach to dieting, the fats of it, the macros, fats, proteins, and carbs. For anybody who just dive into dieting, and to address this is more of like a response or reaction video to a hangout that I was in earlier called by Jennifer Borden. It was titled "Drama and Why I'm Not a Part of It," and just mainly a more fulfilling, satisfactory, explanatory power to what was discussed in there. Now, why don't we just get to the fun stuff first, right? How to approach dieting um, for the first time. You can follow a diet out of a book, but once you understand dieting, then it becomes, I think, a little bit more easier, and you get probably the results that you wish once you take a look at just the components of nutrition. And nutrition is, of course, it's complex, right? And how can I say, disparate. There's several factors you have to know about it, but really you can look at it on. You could look at the forest of nutrition, and there's something that they call macros, which they've divided into three sources of fuel: fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And that's just what I want to discuss with you all today. Okay, let me go ahead and do a screen share here. Okay, fats. What's good about fats? Okay, to understand fats, fats is a food source, a nutrition source that is good for the mind. Um, it's your central nervous system craves fats, wants fats in your body for you to eat fat food because the brain is made of fat cells, and also it provides with the chemical composition of your body, your metabolism. It gives a more of a satisfactory feeling. You know that there's chemicals on the upside of the human experience that are released when you eat fats. All right, so when you approach fats in your diet, think of it that it's mostly a mental thing. It's something that your mind is craving. Fats. Okay, what are the bad things about fats? Okay, fats have a deleterious effect on other systems and organs on your body. Too much fat, let's say, excessive fats. That's what I'm talking about primarily. It's tasks your liver. You know, your liver can get fat. Your heart, your circulatory system. Fat just looks bad on on your body. Okay, so that is a bad thing about fats. But of course, it's like the number one food source that your body will store. Right, it will store fat. Like it hoards fat. So look at it that way. That's what fat is in your body. It's something. It's a alternative. Well, it's the energy source alternative besides just eating fuel that your body will keep on the body to in order to whatever needs it needs, whatever activity it will go towards fats in the long run. So what's good about fats? It's something that your central nervous system craves. What's bad about fats? It just looks bad on your body, and it just has a deleterious effect towards any other organs and systems in your body. Protein. What's good about protein is protein makes you look good. It makes you look sexy. Protein is what builds your lean muscle and makes your it gives you the mechanisms of your body in order for it to function. It gives it strength. Protein. What's bad about protein really is this. It has a very limited window that you can take, that you consume of protein energy in your body for it to work. Like you would think, well, if protein's so great, I'll just eat a ton of protein, to look sexy. The thing is that your body will only use so much of that protein, and the rest it just dumps to the kidneys and liver to get rid of. Right? It's just like a nominal. What would you say? Just a window that your body will use the protein, only a certain amount. Also, what's kind of, I guess you could look at it bad or good, is that in a diet that you'll partake, it's hard to get like a really high percentage of protein diet, like unless you're on some paleo diet where you're just eating meat, in order, in besides just having carbs and fats, in the meal. So protein will always be like of all the three macros, one of the least amount of food sources that you'll get in a meal, protein. So there's only, the only drawback about protein is like, well, if it's so good, why don't I just eat that? You just can't eat that. I mean, just only so much that your body will absorb. All right. What's good about protein is that it's what your muscles use to make you look good. It's what you're going to use in order to, have the amount of strength that you need to get through whatever activity you want to do. Carbs. Now, it's a unique one that it's so plain, carbs. What carbs do is it's a food source that gives you energy, right? If you eat carbs, you can do things. You'll have activity. It keeps your metabolism going. It gives a fuel source to your muscles that you've built on protein to operate. Plenty of carbs in one's diet. There's like the majority of the food source between fats, proteins, and carbs should be carbs. Carbs is very high on what you're intaking in for your food source. Now, quickly, the one of the bad things about carbs, I guess, is that they're not stored. They just sort of just go through your system. They're just, you eat them, and if you don't use them, they just filter out. I mean, you just don't use them. Funny enough. Um, if they don't reach your cells, they just pass through your body. Carbs. They're not stored like fat. Fat is a long-term energy storage system. Carbs are not. So you can look at that good or bad, but it's sort of like, if you just carb up on your diet, you're not going to get fat, nor are you going to get strong. You're not going to get sexy or ugly. You're just going to have the carbs pass through your body. So going back to the top end, fats. Fats, whenever you have some sort of mood, um, what would you say, craving or hankering, go ahead and eat something that's fatty, like, a cupcake or something. It'll make you feel better. What it is just your body telling you to satiate itself. Some sort of mood. It wants to do a mood change, so it's letting you crave fats. Now, if you're just subsisting on fats, like you become addicted to fats, that is a bad thing. But to understand, when you do approach a diet, you know, everything will be low fat, right? Don't have fats, fat free. And then if you don't have any fats, you're going to sort of like go into like a mood valley, So every once in a while, when you're on your diet, eat a fat, don't cut it out of your diet utterly. Just, reduce your fat intake, of course, but still have, that idea that, yeah, it's okay for me to eat a cupcake once in a while. You can work it off as far as your activity, or you can, you would have to just, you know, what would you say, compensate for that, indulgence that you had with more activity. Protein. Okay, how can I say this? If you're a lady, okay, just taking a look at it, just trying to get into roles here, female, male. Protein really won't be, when you get onto a diet, you're not going to be looking at, the amount of protein that you'll eat if you're a female. Just eat some nominal bit of protein. But on the whole, I'd say women are more, what happens is fats. Fats are what accumulate in a woman's body. A female is designed to hoard fat. So when you're looking at a diet, don't be, what would you say, so concerned about the amount of protein that you're getting in so much as that the amount of fats that you're eating, But for a male, of course, protein is probably one of the main macros that you're looking at in any sort of diet. I mean, the more protein you take, the more muscle you can build that will allow you to burn fat. They'll always be telling you to, lift heavier at the gym or so forth. But really what it is just, if you think about it, it's like getting more muscle. So it's better to eat protein than, lift 200, let's say, bench press 225. It's probably better for you if you're in a diet to acquire more protein than, lift heavy, exert yourself beyond your capacity at the moment. So if you are, looking into diet and you are having weight trouble, of course, look more towards, just upping your protein and of course, getting more activity. carbs. This is the thing that it's so interesting. When I approached the YouTube nutrition community and look at the videos, there's actual wars that go on between vegans and paleos, meat eaters, about you know eating carbs. I don't know if you've heard of this. They have the ketogenic diet where you actually deprive yourself of carbs. To me, I think of these diets as more marketing. It's more of a marketing ploy, that they want you to deprive yourself of carbs, and totally ignore the elephant in the room, which is fat. I think if you really want to have a decent and clear-minded approach to dieting, you should settle to say, yes, I have to eat carbs, but you have to eat like the carbs that we know that are good. Like stay away from processed carbs like Twinkies. If you have a difference between eating Twinkies and apples, of course you eat apples carbs because those are more of a, well, obviously maybe man will evolve to a point where it can, easily handle processed foods, Twinkies, with as much, facility as it does an apple. But we're not there yet in the evolutionary scale. So go ahead and, eat what your body can handle, which is, the vegetable and fruit carbs. One of the best things about carbs, if you're looking at it, is that it keeps your metabolism going. So let's suppose that you only like to eat like once or twice a day. Now, what happens is that if you only eat once or twice a day and nothing else, you won't keep your metabolism like on a steady clockwork click. But if you tend to graze, handfuls of carbs throughout the day while you eat the one meal, then you're just going to help your dieting endeavor that much more because your metabolism, you understand, will always be going. It'll be like clicking, almost 24/7. And that's what really helped me in my dieting is that, I only eat pretty much once a day, maybe 1.5 times a day, but I like graze through the day of, carbs, dried fruits, sometimes, a Twinkie or something like that. But I don't suffer for it because I'm active and it keeps my metabolism burning. Chemical wise, your metabolism is just a chemical process of your body. And you can use this chemical process to burn away your fat cells. Um, Let me see. Hold on a sec, guys. Okay, one viewer. I'll take it. Okay, so there we go. We have fats, proteins, and carbs. You're starting a diet. Of course, you're looking at proportions of the food that you take in the meal. Um, there's all sorts of tricks that you can use. Well, not tricks. What would you say? Tips to meal proportions. You can use a smaller plate. You can use your hand. They say like if you use your proportions to your closed fist, that amount like of a meat. If you eat a hunk of meat, if it fits within your fist, your palm, then that's good. If it's bigger than that, maybe it's too much food for you, right? So there's a tip. But usually, in my case, dieting is all about stepping away from processed foods and keeping your metabolism going. Through the simple carbohydrates like maybe a sugary drink, but mainly fruits. Dried fruits, and of course a lot of activity. Um, Getting in the habit of dieting has it's like you treat it like a game, like a strategy game, like have a way of measuring your progress, which is of course a scale. Maybe at this point, I remember at a certain point I was like very hesitant to step on a scale, but the thing is once you step on the scale, then you know where you're at, that you can measure yourself on Mondays. Like I had to measure weigh in Monday and I wrote it down on a spreadsheet on Google Docs, and that's a way of measuring how you're advancing on your diet. Now you will have these things called plateaus, or maybe you'll actually gain pounds in your diet, right? That's that's a situation that can occur, right? A result. But what you do in that case, that gives you the information to know to turn up your activity, of course, first and foremost. Do a little bit more, and then second, take a look at your diet to make sure you're not cheating yourself. um, I cut out sugary pops. I cut out a lot of my bread, the white processed flour, tortillas, and stuff like that helped me lose lose the pounds that I wanted to lose. But I didn't give up like tortilla chips. I didn't give up like once going to Burger King once in a while and having a Whopper. So dieting doesn't have to be a Spartan experience for you guys. It just has to be take in, once you understand the components, fats, proteins, and carbs, then you can go ahead and, manipulate those macros to suit your need. And also it's a very simple thing. If all else fails, just increase your activity. That'll help you break through a plateau. Or, just change up your training, like do something different at the gym. I noticed changes your weight outlook. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and leave the food portion of the video right there and just go on to something that's been kind of going on. Well, kind of going on. It always goes on in our great debate community, drama. Okay, looking at it like we did with the macros, what's good about drama? Okay, what is drama? Okay, drama in my mind is an expression. Okay, we come to a hangout and we're sitting and talking about what's going on in our experience, and something will come up, like, a situation, either in the community or outside of it, and people will express their feelings about it. Okay, that is the start of drama, right? Drama is an expression. Okay, now where drama gets, you know into bad form, into being malevolent, into being malicious, is when people take advantage of other people in the community. Okay, when we know that it's not like something in the general, like talking about Demi Lovato or something, or Nicki Minaj, you know what I mean? But it's something when it has to do in our community, when certain people are used, to disadvantage, when people are taken advantage of, when people are abused, that is a very poor form of drama. Now, why do these things happen? I believe why it happens is because people do come to the community with different ideas of what they want to interact, what they want to see in the community, right? Some people want to come in just to laugh at other people. Some people come in just to see, what the conversation's all about. Believe me, there's people that, to them, atheism, theism, the God talk is a brand new thing to them, right? To us, right now, it might be like old hat, and like going to the chess club and watching the guy do the opening move again and again and again. But, to some, it's like a new thing to talk about, if there is a God or not. And then, of course, we talk about other things in the community, that comes up. For example, I don't want to name. Well, I guess I will have to name names. This episode that's going on between Sugar and Mark, and just the ugly way it's going, right? Now, I know when I had the interview with Annabelle, I offered that I thought the thing would only going to last 3 more days, because I thought people would, it would be a typical great debate community drama where, something bad would happen that week, and then the next week everybody would forgot about it. Everybody would move on. But, everybody who's been watching this, I think this has now been going over 2 weeks, and it's just getting worse. So, to offer, maybe not, I'm a moralist. I'm not going to lay down any sort of, edict of what is good and bad. Let's get beyond that, or what's good and evil. The thing is that what to utilize and what to gain from the drama experience. All right. When one offers something that they're feeling deep inside, we, as our friends and just part of the community, yeah, we can go ahead and listen to it. That's one thing that sort of got me about Jennifer's clickbait title of it, drama and why I don't partake in it. It's sort of like, there's no such, in my mind, there's no such thing as an aloofness where, like a totally sanitized zone where you can just keep yourself above what you see happening in front of you, right? I mean, there's a complete car wreck in front of you, and you're just going to walk through it and not help the victims, right? I guess there are some people like that, but I mean, it's just not in my nature. We're seeing this car wreck and we're seeing a lot of victims, and I think it's just time for us to start saying, enough's enough. We get the point of how this thing went south. Maybe we can, come together and not propel it, a la what Benny did with the surreptitious video that he recorded, and sort of exploit the situation. Why can't we just admit that, this is a situation where both parties are not made, how can I say, are not, I think to myself, is there any sort of recovery? But I mean, the way it's going, it's just irrecoverable in my mind. Just move on. People are, getting choked up at this point. I've seen it. I saw it this morning. I saw it last night. I would just like to offer that, sure, when something bad happens, we can look at it and like come together and say, well, not that I'm trying to admonish you or nag you, but trying to give you good advice to, try to make lemonade out of the lemons. Um, I think okay, I've been blocked by sugar now like 3 times, and I know the last 2 times that it happened was I was actually taking upon myself to offer her, that there's solutions to her problems in counseling, right? And she didn't want to hear it. Um, I guess what we can do, as a community, just know that there is a proper form to, there's an alternative than, taking advantage of somebody like Benny did with that, video, trying to, keep this thing going when it should have ended a long time ago, in my humble opinion. Okay, well, let's, step in the audience. Okay, I just told you sitting in the audience and watching the thing, one knows that when somebody expresses themselves in such fashion, let's say the way Sugar does, we have to understand that is purely an expression of what she's feeling inside, at the moment. We can't pass a blanket judgment upon, someone's character at that time, when they're dressed. But I don't think, I think it's more like, we've seen the good in Sugar. We know that there's good in Sugar at that point, as far as, where this thing is going. I'm having a hard time being as honest as possible. It's just that I know that there were better days in the past. How's that? That there is a better future. I hope, an optimist, but there were better days in the past. As far as like, the Rob Beasleys of the world using such, drama to their own ends, we understand that there'll always be those type of people we'll encounter within our experience and watch them. Where I guess you could say we're fortunate that we can see, the things play out in front of us on, the great debate community and hangouts. But we should always have the understanding that, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's just for the sake of, him climbing his way to the top of the great debate community. There is no healing in it, even though it is under the guise of some sort of, counseling approach, that analysis that Rob has. But if you notice, Rob does not change his mind when facts come in. I mean, he has set his mind upon his interpretation of events, and he's not open to looking at it any other way but his own. There are a lot of good people in the community, and I know that whenever we should have any sort of episodes like this, I mean, I'm sure we can come together and try to, work things out in a positive way. And yes, people will say certain things about another person's character or another person's intent, but, I'll have to say, like I always say, as far as the sun rising, that means it's a brand new day. If the sun's going to rise tomorrow. Okay, let me go ahead and leave it at that. Well, I'd like to thank my one listener for listening. And I hope if you have any questions about, dieting approaches, or, how to look at sad situations analytically and try to derive the best outcomes for them, go ahead and just hit me in the comments and, chat me up anytime. This is Bunto. Hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.